Top 12 worst things in your yard for birds. All types of cats, including lost strays, pampered pets, or feral visitors, have razor-sharp instincts for hunting and will stalk not only birds, but also lizards, frogs, snakes, mammals, and other wildlife. Whether they are hunting for food, entertainment, or curiosity, cats kill billions of wild birds around the world each year, and in many areas, native species are threatened or endangered because of predation from domestic cats. We often use chemicals in our yards to eliminate weeds, control insects, or nourish plants, but those same chemicals can be harming birds. When used inappropriately, toxic poisoning is a very real threat to birds and other wildlife. Birds might consume chemical granules, and chemicals can contaminate feeders, baths, or local water supplies. Even used properly, chemicals can eliminate resources birds need, such as protein-rich insects or nutritious weed seeds. A cute, quirky birdhouse might be a fun garden accent, but that doesn't make it a suitable home for baby birds. A house with bright colors will attract predators' attention, and if the house has a perch, predators have a nifty handhold to access the nest. A lack of ventilation or inadequate space can smother nestlings, while a house that is improperly positioned could sway or fall in storms. An entrance hole that is too large can also admit predators and more aggressive birds. Even a friendly dog can be a threat to backyard birds. A dog will be a source of stress for both parents and chicks, especially when fledgling birds have left the nest and are more vulnerable on the ground. Dogs can also dig up ground bird feeders or baths, as well as disrupt native plants that birds rely on for food, shelter, and nesting material. A more aggressive or untrained dog may even attack or harass birds deliberately. Glue strips, sticky traps, and any glue-based pest control may seem like a fast, easy way to get rid of unwanted pests, but they're an indiscriminating tactic that can be just as fatal to birds. Small birds can get stuck on strips or traps as they try to feed off captured insects, and the glue can tear off birds' feathers or cause other brutal injuries. Even larger birds, such as raptors, may get stuck to traps as they hunt captured mice or rodents. Birds go nuts for all types of bread, from stale crusts and crumbs to cookies, donuts, chips, muffins, and more. Unfortunately, these foods offer very little nutrition, and instead are the equivalent of avian junk food. Over time, a diet filled with bread scraps can lead to growth deformations, obesity, and a range of other health problems. Birds that come to rely on such handouts can become aggressive and develop other behavior issues as well. A well-groomed, weed-free flowerbed can be beautiful, but it can turn ugly when landscaping or weed control fabric becomes a threat to birds. Not only does this material make it more difficult for insectivorous birds to forage for food, including worms, but because it blocks weeds, birds cannot forage on those native weed seeds. Some birds may even tug on the edges of fabric to extract strands for nesting material, and those tough strands can pose tangle hazards to vulnerable nestlings. There are many beautiful plants throughout the world, but not every pretty plant is valuable to backyard wildlife. Non-native plants are less easily recognized by birds, so they are not as useful for meeting birds' needs. If the plants are vigorous growers, they may also overwhelm and crowd out the native plants birds rely on for food, shelter, and nesting. The most invasive non-native plants often spread beyond yards and take over in more natural habitats as well. Often set out for birds as a soft nesting material, dryer lint is actually a toxic trap. Even using natural cleaners or organic products produces lint with high chemical concentrations that can be harmful to birds. Dryer lint also falls apart when it gets wet, dangerously tumbling young birds out of the nest. Wet, sticky lint may coat birds' feathers and make it more difficult for them to preen effectively, and long strands of hair or threads in lint can be tangle hazards in the nest. Not all bird feeders are helpful to birds, and if the feeder is dirty, it can harbor bacteria, mites, mold, and other threats that can spread diseases among the entire backyard flock. Many diseases are spread through feces and saliva, making it easy to contaminate many birds from one small feeder. Dirty feeders are also smelly, which can attract unwanted pests such as wasps, raccoons, rats, and other visitors that will damage or destroy the feeder. Even bears might visit a dirty bird feeder. Just like dirty feeders, dirty bird baths can also spread diseases to the different birds that drink from or bathe in the basin. In addition to this problem, however, dirty bird baths can also be breeding grounds for mosquitoes that can transmit diseases to humans. Because of this risk, some homeowners associations and community guidelines restrict the use of bird baths or require the basins to be maintained properly at all times. Clean or not, bird feeders and baths aren't any use to birds if they aren't kept filled. An empty fixture forces birds to seek food and water elsewhere, and if they can't rely on the backyard offerings, wild birds may move on to different resources and stop visiting the yard altogether. Empty feeders can also become home to unwanted insects such as wasp or hornet nests, or mice or rats may take up residence. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more interesting videos. And please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm.